First contact's price. The alert chimed softly in Captain Elena Reyes' quarters aboard the UES Concordia. She opened her eyes immediately, years of military training having conditioned her to wake fully alert. The soft blue glow of her terminal indicated a priority message. "Captain Reyes," she answered, her voice clear despite the early hour. "Captain, this is Lieutenant Park in sensor control. We've detected an anomalous energy signature near Jupiter's orbit. Appears to be a vessel in distress." Elena swung her legs over the edge of her bed. "Classification: unknown, ma'am. The configuration doesn't match anything in our database." A flutter of anticipation rose in her chest. The United Earth Fleet had encountered exactly 0 extraterrestrial civilizations in its century of space exploration. A discovery of this magnitude would change everything. "I'll be on the bridge in 5 minutes. Alert Admiral Nakamura at Earth Command. And Lieutenant, complete communications blackout until I give the order." "Yes, Captain." 15 minutes later, Elena stood on the Concordia's bridge, studying the holographic projection of the unknown vessel. It was elegant, a smooth, elongated craft with what appeared to be crystalline protrusions along its hull. Energy fluctuations rippled visibly across its surface. "Their power core is destabilizing," said Commander Jackson, her XO. "At this rate, they have maybe 12 hours before catastrophic failure." Elena nodded. "This could be first contact, people. Let's make it count. Communications, prepare the first contact package. Medical, prep for potentially non-human physiology. Security, passive measures only. I want shields at maximum, but weapons powered down." Admiral Nakamura's weathered face appeared on the main screen. "Captain Rice, Earth Command has reviewed your findings. Your orders are to render assistance and establish peaceful contact if possible. The diplomatic vessel Geneva is being dispatched with a full first contact team, but they're 18 hours out. You're authorized to make initial contact under Protocol 7. "Understood, Admiral." "Be careful, Elena," he added, dropping formality for a moment. "We've waited generations for this moment. But remember, your ship and crew come first." The Concordia approached the alien vessel cautiously. Up close, the damage was more evident. A jagged tear along one side, crystalline fragments drifting in the void. "They're hailing us," announced Lieutenant Chen from Communications. "Audio only, unknown language." "Run it through the linguistic analysis system," Elena ordered, "and transmit our first contact package." The bridge fell silent as a series of melodic tones and clicks filled the air. The computer worked frantically to decode the patterns. "I think they're requesting assistance," Chen said after a moment. "The computer is establishing basic communication parameters." Elena made her decision. "Prepare a boarding team. I'll lead it myself." "Captain," Jackson protested, "regulations state that first contact scenarios supersede standard boarding protocols." Elena finished. "I know the risks, Commander." The boarding team assembled in the shuttle bay. Elena, Dr. Sato from Medical, Lieutenant Wu from Engineering, and 2 security officers. Each wore an environmental suit designed to minimize potential biological contamination in either direction. As their shuttle approached the alien vessel, Elena felt the weight of history on her shoulders. Humanity's first meeting with another intelligent species would set the tone for all future interactions. "Approaching what appears to be a docking port," reported the pilot. "They're extending some kind of magnetic guidance system." The shuttle settled into what was clearly a docking bay. Through the viewport, Elena could see several figures waiting. They were tall, at least 7 feet, with slender bodies covered in what looked like iridescent scales. Their features were vaguely reptilian, with large, multifaceted eyes. "Remember," Elena said to her team, "no sudden movements. Follow first contact protocols to the letter." The airlock cycled, and Elena stepped forward, hands open in the universal gesture of peace. "I am Captain Elena Reyes of the United Earth ship Concordia. We come in peace and offer assistance. The translator in her suit processed her words, converting them to the mathematical language they had established during their brief communications. One of the aliens stepped forward, raising a six-fingered hand in what seemed to be mimicry of her gesture. The translator struggled to convert the series of clicks and whistles that followed. Gratitude, emergency, power failure. Vraxian, assistance accepted. Over the next 6 hours, Alina's crew worked alongside the aliens, the Vraxians, as they called themselves, to stabilize their failing power core. Communication improved rapidly as the translation algorithms adapted. The Vraxians explained they were explorers, mapping this sector of space when they suffered a catastrophic system failure. Dr. Sato reported that the Vraxians had a biology based on silicon rather than carbon, explaining their crystalline technology. Lieutenant Wu was enthusiastic about their propulsion system, which utilized principles that Earth scientists had only theorized about. Alina sent regular updates to Earth Command, careful to maintain the communications blackout with all other vessels. Admiral Nakamura approved her handling of the situation and informed her that the Geneva was now just 6 hours out. "You've done well, Captain," the Admiral said. "The Council is preparing a formal welcome once the diplomatic team arrives." Alina couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. Her name would go down in history as the commander who established humanity's first peaceful contact with an alien species. That night, as the engineering teams continued their work, Alina invited the Vraxian commander, who had introduced himself as Nexer, to dine with her and her senior officers. The Vraxians couldn't consume human food, but they brought samples of their own nutrient solutions, eager to share their culture. "Your assistance is valued," Nexer said, the translator still struggling with nuance. "Many cycles we travel, never finding intelligent life. You are first." Alina smiled. "We've been searching the stars for others like you as well. This meeting will change both our civilizations." Nexer's multifaceted eyes gleamed. "Change, yes, inevitable." The conversation continued pleasantly, with both sides sharing information about their homeworlds and cultures. The Vraxians claimed to come from a system 50 light-years distant, part of a coalition of spacefaring races. As the dinner concluded, Nexer presented Alina with a small crystalline object. "Gift for new friends. Place in your command center." "Thank you," Alina said, accepting the gift. "I'll display it proudly on our bridge." Later that night, Alina was awakened by blaring alarms. She rushed to the bridge to find chaos. "Multiple systems failing," reported Lieutenant Chen. "Communications, weapons, propulsion, all going offline." "The alien gift," Jackson shouted. "It's emitting some kind of energy pulse." Before Alina could respond, the view screen lit up with the image of Nexer. But gone was the seemingly friendly diplomat. His posture was rigid, dominant. "Captain Reyes," he said, the translator now working perfectly. "Your assistance in repairing our scout ship is appreciated. Your naivety, however, is unfortunate." Alina's blood ran cold. "What have you done?" "A simple disruption field, tuned precisely to your technology. Primitive, but effective. Your ship is now disabled." "We helped you," Alina protested. "We offered friendship. And we studied you," Nexer replied coldly. "Your databases, your capabilities, your weaknesses. Your species shows potential, but lacks the strength to be worthy of true alliance. The Vraxian Imperium requires resources, not equals." The view screen split to show multiple Vraxian warships decloaking around Jupiter's orbit. "Those are not explorers," Jackson whispered. "No," Alina agreed grimly. "It's an invasion force. Your planet will be contacted shortly," Nexer continued. "The terms of submission will be reasonable. Resources and labor in exchange for your continued existence. Resistance would be inadvisable." The communication cut off abruptly. Alina turned to her crew. "Options. Communications are down," Chen reported. "We can't warn Earth. Weapons? Offline. Propulsion? Minimal emergency power only. Elena made a rapid decision. Commander Jackson, evacuate all non-essential personnel to the emergency shelter on Europa. Lieutenant Wu, rig the core for overload. Jackson stared at her. Captain, if we can't warn Earth directly, we'll send a message they can't ignore. A matter/antimatter explosion of this magnitude will be visible from Earth. It will buy them time to prepare. And the Concordia? Wu asked quietly. Elena looked around at her bridge, at the ship that had been her home for 5 years. I'll stay behind to ensure the detonation sequence. The rest of you will evacuate with the crew. With respect, Captain, Jackson said firmly. That's not happening. I'm staying. One by one, the bridge officers voiced the same determination. Elena felt a surge of pride in her crew. Very well. Lieutenant Chen, encrypt our logs with everything we've learned about the Vraxians and set them to broadcast on all frequencies. If any part of this ship survives, Earth needs to know what they're facing. As the evacuation proceeded, the Vraxian warships remained in position, apparently confident in their superiority. Elena watched the countdown timer on her console, knowing that the destruction of her ship would be her final act as captain. Core overload in 3 minutes, reported Wu. The Vraxians are hailing us. They've detected the power surge. Ignore them, Elena ordered. Broadcast on all Earth frequencies. Concordia to Earth Command. First contact hostile. Invasion force detected. Prepare defenses. They are coming. The message would take nearly 40 minutes to reach Earth, but the light from the Concordia's destruction would arrive almost instantly. 1 minute to overload, Wu announced. Elena stood from her captain's chair. It has been my honor to serve with all of you. The bridge crew stood at attention, facing their captain in these final moments. Core reaching critical levels, Wu reported calmly. 30 seconds. Elena thought of Earth, blue and beautiful, teeming with life. Of the billions of people going about their daily lives, unaware of the threat approaching. Her sacrifice would give them a chance. 10 seconds. As the countdown reached 0, Elena whispered, "For Earth." The Concordia erupted in a blinding flash of energy, temporarily outshining Jupiter itself. The explosion engulfed the nearest Vraxian vessel and damaged several others. On Earth, astronomers stared in confusion at the sudden nova-like burst near Jupiter. Within hours, as the Concordia's final message reached Earth's communication arrays, that confusion turned to grim understanding. The Vraxian fleet, delayed but not defeated, regrouped and continued their approach toward Earth. They transmitted their ultimatum to every communication device on the planet. People of Earth, your pathetic attempt at resistance has been noted. Your primitive vessel's sacrifice has changed nothing. You have 7 of your days to prepare for our arrival. Submission will be your only option for survival. What the Vraxians couldn't know was that humanity had spent centuries preparing for this possibility. As their ultimatum echoed across Earth, underground facilities sprang to life. Orbital defense platforms, disguised as research stations, powered up their weapons, and in a hidden facility beneath the Pacific Ocean, Admiral Nakamura activated the Lazarus Protocol, Earth's final contingency plan for alien invasion. The Vraxians had expected surrender. They would find only defiance. Earth would not go quietly into the night. The reckoning. Commander Darius Chen stood in the cavernous underground hangar of Facility Omega, watching as technicians swarmed over the sleek black vessels arranged in perfect formation. Unlike the standard United Earth Fleet ships with their gleaming white hulls and bold identification markings, these craft bore no insignia. Their hulls absorbed light rather than reflected it, creating the unsettling impression of ship-shaped voids in space. "The Shadow Fleet," said Admiral Nakamura, stepping up beside him. 200 combat vessels built in secret over the last 30 years, a contingency we hoped never to use. Chen nodded grimly. He had been pulled from his post as tactical officer aboard the UES Intrepid just hours after the Concordia's destruction. His service record had flagged him as a candidate for what was now being called Operation Nemesis, and I'm to command one of them. Not just one, Nakamura replied. You're now Commodore Chen, in command of Strike Group Theta, 20 ships, and the best crews we could assemble on short notice. Chen absorbed this with a steadiness that betrayed none of his inner turmoil. 3 days ago, he had been preparing for shore leave. Now he was being handed command of a fleet of secret warships to defend Earth against an alien invasion. You knew the Concordia's captain, Nakamura observed. It wasn't a question. Elena Rise was my commanding officer for 3 years aboard the Resolute, Chen confirmed. She taught me everything I know about command. Then you understand what's at stake. The Vraxians thought the Concordia's sacrifice was futile. We're going to prove them wrong. They walked between the rows of ships, each a marvel of engineering that pushed the boundaries of known science. Some incorporated theoretical technologies that had never been publicly acknowledged. These vessels incorporate everything we've learned from 2 centuries of preparing for this moment, Nakamura explained. Adaptive shield harmonics, phase-shifted weaponry, and propulsion systems that can match or exceed what we've observed of Vraxian capabilities. But the Vraxians still outnumber us, Chen pointed out. Their fleet must be substantial to attempt conquest of an entire planet, which is why we're not fighting a conventional war. Nakamura led him to a secure briefing room, where several scientists waited. This is Dr. Amara Singh, lead developer of the Achilles Protocol. Dr. Singh was a petite woman with intense eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. Commodore Chen, she acknowledged with a nod. Simply put, we've developed a way to turn the Vraxians' technology against them. She activated a holographic display showing the crystalline structure of Vraxian technology. Their systems are based on quantum crystalline matrices, vastly more efficient than our silicon-based computing, but vulnerable in ways ours are not. We've developed what we call a resonance cascade virus. A virus? Chen asked skeptically. We're going to defeat an alien armada with software. Not exactly, Singh replied, unperturbed by his skepticism. The virus disrupts the harmonic frequency that keeps their crystalline matrices stable. Once infected, their systems will literally tear themselves apart at the molecular level. The catch, Nakamura interjected, is that it must be delivered directly to their command network. We can't simply broadcast it. Chen understood immediately. Which means someone has to board their flagship. Precisely, Singh confirmed. Strike Group Theta will create a diversion, while an infiltration team delivers the virus. And I suppose I'm leading this suicide mission? Chen asked dryly. Nakamura's expression remained impassive. You're the best tactical mind we have, and you have personal motivation. Who better? Chen couldn't argue with that logic. Elena deserved nothing less than his complete commitment to her vengeance. The next 72 hours passed in a blur of preparation. Earth's conventional defense forces mobilized publicly, a necessary show of resistance that would also serve as misdirection. Meanwhile, Strike Group Theta prepared for its secret mission. Chen handpicked his infiltration team. Lieutenant Zoe Wilson, an engineering specialist with expertise in alien technology. Sergeant Marcus Kane, former Special Forces with extensive EVA combat experience. Dr. Maya Patel, xenobiologist, and Lieutenant Commander Hiroshi Tanaka, communications and electronic warfare expert. 6 hours before the Vraxian deadline expired, Strike Group Theta departed Earth through a network of hidden launch facilities. Using the moon's bulk as cover, they moved into position behind Earth's natural satellite, powered down to minimal life support to avoid detection. All ships reporting ready, Commodore, reported Tanaka from his position at communications. Chen nodded, studying the tactical display. The Vraxian fleet had taken up position just beyond Mars' orbit. 37 vessels of varying sizes, anchored by a massive flagship twice the size of Earth's largest carrier. Transmission from Earth Command, Tanaka announced. The diplomatic delegation is making contact with the Vraxian fleet. On screen, they watched as an official Earth government broadcast began. a panel of world leaders addressed the Vraxian commander, offering limited cooperation while attempting to negotiate less severe terms. The Vraxian response was predictably dismissive. Nexer himself appeared, now clearly identified as the fleet commander. "Your attempts at diplomacy are noted, but unnecessary," he stated coldly. "Our terms are non-negotiable. Your resources belong to the Imperium now. Your cooperation will determine only how many of your people survive the transition." The Earth delegation continued their appeals for reason, exactly as planned. Every minute of diplomatic posturing was another minute for Chen's forces to prepare. "They're stalling," Chen observed. "Good. Status of infiltration craft." "Ready, sir," Wilson reported from the specialized stealth shuttle they would use to approach the Vraxian flagship. "Dr. Singh's virus is loaded and secure." Chen turned to address his bridge crew one final time. "In 15 minutes, we execute Operation Nemesis. Strike groups Alpha through Delta will engage the Vraxian fleet directly, drawing their attention. Strike groups Epsilon through Lambda will defend Earth itself. Our mission is clear: deliver the virus to the Vraxian command network and cripple their fleet." He paused, looking at each face in turn. The Vraxians expected humanity to surrender. They anticipated fear and submission. What they will receive instead is humanity's unbridled wrath. "For the Concordia. For Earth. We move." The Shadow Fleet exploded into action with coordinated precision. As the main Earth forces launched a frontal assault on the Vraxian fleet, Strike Group Theta swung wide, approaching from above the ecliptic plane where Vraxian sensors were weakest. The space around Mars erupted in flashes of weapons fire. Earth's conventional forces fought with desperate courage, but the technological gap was evident. Vraxian crystalline beams sliced through Earth vessel shields with frightening efficiency. "Vraxian fleet is fully engaged," reported Tanaka. All attention directed toward Earth's main forces. "Now," Chen ordered. Strike Group Theta accelerated toward the rear of the Vraxian formation. The ship's stealth systems, incorporating reverse-engineered alien technology from previous covered encounters, masked their approach. They were halfway to their target when disaster struck. "We've been detected," Tanaka shouted. 3 Vraxian destroyers breaking formation, moving to intercept. Chen made a split-second decision. All ships except Shadow 17 engage those destroyers. Draw them away from the flagship. "Shadow 17, you're with us." The majority of Strike Group Theta peeled off, engaging the Vraxian destroyers in a vicious firefight. Chen's infiltration shuttle, escorted by the single remaining vessel of his fleet, continued toward the Vraxian flagship. "They fight well," observed Kane, watching the tactical display as the Shadow Fleet vessels darted around the larger Vraxian ships, using their superior maneuverability to avoid direct hits while scoring precise strikes against vulnerable points. "They're buying us time," Chen replied grimly. "Let's make sure it's not wasted." Their escort, Shadow 17, took a direct hit as they approached the flagship's blind spot. The vessel erupted in a controlled antimatter detonation that temporarily blinded the Vraxian sensors. In that moment of confusion, Chen's shuttle attached itself to the flagship's hull, near what their intelligence suggested was a maintenance access point. "Cutting through now," Wilson reported, operating a specialized plasma torch designed to penetrate crystalline materials. Within minutes, they were inside the vast alien vessel. The interior was disorienting, corridors of translucent crystal that seemed to shift and pulse with energy. They moved cautiously, guided by Dr. Patel's xenobiological expertise to avoid detection. "Their life support systems operate on different principles than ours," she explained in a whisper. "They can detect carbon dioxide emissions. Use your rebreathers." They encountered surprisingly few Vraxians. Most were likely at battle stations. Those they did encounter were swiftly neutralized by Kane's silent but lethal tactics. "The central network node should be 2 levels up," Wilson said, consulting her scanner. "But security will be heaviest there." Chen nodded. "We split up. Dr. Patel, And Lieutenant Wilson, you're with me. We'll deliver the virus. Tanaka and Kane create a diversion 3 junctions over. The diversion worked perfectly. As alarms blared throughout the ship, Chen led his team to the network node, a massive chamber filled with pulsating crystalline structures that hummed with power. That's their quantum network core, Wilson breathed, awestruck despite the circumstances, more advanced than anything we theorized. Can you deliver the virus? Chen asked. Wilson nodded, removing a crystalline device of their own. Dr. Singh's delivery mechanism for the virus. I need 3 minutes to interface with their systems. You have 2, Chen replied, taking up a defensive position with Dr. Patel. As Wilson worked, Chen heard familiar footsteps approaching. He turned to see Nexer himself enter the chamber, flanked by 4 guards. Humans, the Vraxian commander hissed. Your persistence is remarkable, if futile. You murdered my friend, Chen replied coldly. Captain Alina Reyes of the Concordia. This isn't about persistence. It's about justice. Nexer tilted his head, multifaceted eyes gleaming. Ah, the scout ship incident. A necessary sacrifice to gather intelligence. Your Captain Reyes died well, if that comforts you. It doesn't, Chen said. But this will. Wilson called out, it's done. Virus deployed. Nexer lunged forward, but too late. The crystalline structures around them began to vibrate at increasing frequency. Fracture lines appeared, spreading rapidly through the network core. What have you done? Nexer demanded, his composure finally breaking. Introduced a little chaos to your orderly conquest, Chen replied. We call it the Achilles Protocol. Your entire fleet is now infected through your command network. The flagship shuddered violently as systems began to fail. Throughout the Vraxian fleet, ships suddenly lost power, weapons, and shields as their crystalline matrices destabilized. We have to go, Wilson urged. This whole ship is going to tear itself apart. Chen nodded to his team but remained facing Nexer. You came to our system expecting submission. What you found instead is that humanity doesn't bow. Not now. Not ever. They fought their way back to their shuttle as the massive flagship began to disintegrate around them. Throughout the battle zone, Vraxian vessels floundered, their once superior technology rendered useless by the virus spreading through their network. Earth's forces, recognizing the turning tide, pressed their advantage. The Shadow Fleet emerged fully from stealth, revealing humanity's hidden technological capabilities. As Chen's shuttle broke free from the crumbling flagship, he received a transmission from Admiral Nakamura. Operation Nemesis successful, Commodore. The Vraxian fleet is neutralized. Chen looked back at the spectacular destruction of the once mighty alien armada. And Nexer. His escape pod was intercepted. He's now our guest. 2 weeks later, Chen stood before the United Earth Council as they deliberated the fate of the captured Vraxians. Nexer, once imperious, now stood in restraints, his crystalline physiology dulled without the technological supports of his ship. The Vraxian Imperium will send another fleet, Nexer warned. This defeat will not go unanswered. Admiral Nakamura stepped forward. Perhaps. But before they do, they should consider what we've learned from examining your vessels. Your quantum crystal technology is impressive, but flawed. We've already developed countermeasures that would render any future invasion equally unsuccessful. And added President Sarai of the United Earth Government, we've taken the liberty of broadcasting all technical specifications of those countermeasures to every sentient civilization within 100 light years. Your technological advantage is gone, Commander Nexer. Nexer's multifaceted eyes narrowed. Then you condemn us to death. Without conquest, the Imperium cannot sustain itself. No, Chen interjected. We offer an alternative. Earth is willing to establish diplomatic relations with the Vraxian people, not as conquerors or subjects, but as equals. Trade instead of tribute. Alliance instead of submission. The Imperium does not ally with lesser species. Nexer scoffed. Then the Imperium will fall, Chen replied simply. Because today has proven that humanity is not a lesser species. We faced extinction and answered with ingenuity. We met brutality with righteous fury, yet still extend an offer of peace. That is true strength. The council voted unanimously. The surviving Vraxians would be returned to their homeworld with a message. Earth was open to peaceful relations, but would meet any future aggression with overwhelming force. As the diplomatic ship prepared to depart with the Vraxian prisoners, Chen visited Nexer one final time. Why come personally? Nexer asked. To gloat? Chen shook his head. To deliver a message from Captain Alina Reyes. Your dead captain cannot speak, Nexer said dismissively. Her final log entry was recovered from the Concordia's debris, Chen replied. Her last words weren't about vengeance or hatred. They were, may they learn that peace offers more than conquest ever could. Nexer was silent for a long moment. Your species is unexpected. That's humanity, Chen said simply. We're always more than you expect. 6 months later, a diplomatic vessel arrived from the Vraxian homeworld. Not an armada seeking revenge, but a single ship under a flag of truce. The Imperium had fallen, replaced by a coalition government seeking new relationships with neighboring species. As Earth prepared to take its place in the wider galactic community, a memorial was unveiled in orbit where the Concordia's final transmission had been received. A simple crystalline monument, ironically crafted using repurposed Vraxian technology, bearing the names of the Concordia's crew and Captain Alina Reyes' final message. In the decades that followed, as humanity expanded throughout the stars, that monument became a symbol not just of sacrifice, but of humanity's defining characteristic, the unwavering will to defend their own while still offering a hand in peace. The species that would later encounter humanity in the vast reaches of space would learn what the Vraxians discovered at such cost, that humans could be the most implacable enemies or the most steadfast allies, that they could respond to hostility with overwhelming force, yet still choose mercy when victory was achieved. That when the stars went dark with threats of extinction, humanity's light would burn all the brighter. Commander Darius Chen eventually became Admiral Chen, Earth's first ambassador to the Galactic Concord that formed in the wake of the Vraxian conflict. When asked by alien diplomats about humanity's rapid rise from an isolated planetary civilization to a respected interstellar power, he would simply tell them the story of the Concordia. We learned who we truly were, he would say, when we faced extinction and chose defiance instead. In the great library of the Galactic Concord, among the histories of 1,000 civilizations, the human saga was marked by a simple epitaph that captured their essence for all spacefaring races to understand. Approach with respect and friendship, and find no more loyal companions among the stars. Come with conquest in mind, and learn why the universe itself trembles when humanity's wrath is unleashed.